Sky 5, overhead of a major train derailment in our area.
Live team coverage from the scene with details of what happened and the extent of the injuries.
Terrifying moments caught on camera. Witnesses watch in horror as a passenger train slams into a tractor trailer. Passengers thrown around by the force of the impact.
We heard this big drop or this big bang, so that woke me up, and then all of a sudden we started slowing down pretty rapidly. And then all of a sudden we hear another huge bang, and we just come to a complete stop.
This animation shows how the driver tried to maneuver the truck as the train approached.
They tried to pull forward really fast to try to get out of the way of the train, and I guess couldn't move fast enough, and the train just collided with the truck. It was scary. It was very scary. I felt like I was hopeless, like I couldn't do anything.
Haunting moments for a group of construction workers who watched 3 men fall to their deaths, many trembling as they recounted what happened in downtown Raleigh today.
And it just snapped. I heard it snap. They just told us to run, so I ran, fell like 2 feet away from them.
Really? I mean, so you had to run to get out of the way?
We ran right in that hole right there in the bottom. Ran in there and you just gone.
They heard it shaking. They knew something was wrong. They said his partner reached out to try to grab one of the workers. And of course, we now know he was unsuccessful. And he said that worker actually left a scratch on his arm. And the worker I was talking to, he just kept telling me about that scratch that was left on his partner's arm. And tears were completely welled up in his eyes.
We're tracking breaking news on WRAL. We now know the name of the person killed in a shooting at a local community college. We're live with the search for the gunman.
He was shot on the 3rd floor, which was in the building of the library. The victim in this case was the print shop operator. This search has been so active that they are using tear gas to search the building. They have choppers flying overhead. Still have reason to believe that the suspect is alive and at large with a rifle. Tell me, Tashina, what did you hear?
We just heard the police and the SWAT team saying that this is not a game. They came in there and got everyone out.
I was in the cafeteria when the cops swarmed the building, and they told us to hide.
Right now on WRAL, Kenneth Stansel's own words on how he says he planned the shooting and his getaway. The man who says he gunned down a former boss at Wayne Community College is expected to be back in North Carolina tomorrow. Hello, everyone. I'm Deborah Morgan.
And I'm Ken Smith in for Gerald tonight. During a hearing in Daytona Beach, Florida this afternoon, Kenneth Stansel waived his right to extradition. He spoke exclusively with WRAL from jail before that hearing.
I never wanted to live like everybody else, you know. I was a criminal, always had a criminal mind. I don't belong in society. The way I think, my mind don't work like yours.
Deborah, it was an unbelievable scene in that courtroom. Nothing like I have ever seen in my 25 years covering court cases when he got agitated and had to be dragged out of that courtroom.
If you're a child molester...
Okay, you're not going to use that word in my courtroom.
I don't what you
Okay, take him out. Take him out. Take him out.
We, the 12 members of the jury, unanimously find the defendant to be not guilty of first-degree murder.
Such an emotional scene just moments ago here at the Durham County Courthouse. After about 5 hours of deliberating, the jury delivered that verdict of not guilty on all counts. Mitchell, who says that he was sleepwalking when he killed his 4-year-old son, Blake, was in tears after that verdict. He wiped his eyes as he left the courtroom to start the process of his release.
Breaking at noon, an intense manhunt ends in North Carolina. The suspected mass shooter captured after police say he killed 9 people at a historic African-American church.
Dylan Roof, 21 years of age, lives in Columbia, South Carolina. This is his walk shot, walking out of the Shelby Police Department.
We'll walk hand in hand. Song and prayer filled the streets of downtown Charleston as the body of Reverend Clemente Pinckney was escorted past the church where he served and where he died to an arena where thousands were gathered to grieve the deaths and celebrate the lives of the Emmanuel 9.
Because of you, we will see the Confederate flag come down here in the state of South Carolina.
After 54 years of flying over the South Carolina state capitol, the Confederate battle flag is now headed to the relic room.
We watched here in our newsroom as history unfolded in the Palmetto State. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bill Leslie.
And I'm Linda Loveland in for Michelle Marsh, who is covering this historic event in South Carolina. There were cheers and tears in Columbia. Some cried because they say a symbol of hate has finally been removed from a place of honor.
Still others are disappointed to see what they called a symbol of heritage go. WREL's Michelle Marsh was there as the flag was lowered for the final time.
I tell you, it was really beautiful to see so many people gathered here, standing shoulder to shoulder. They may not have agreed with the person standing next to them and their viewpoints, but for that moment, they stood in unity and watched, black, white, young, old, as they all stood here to witness a new day in South Carolina.
54 years and 15 minutes, one man yelled in the crowd. People here patiently waiting for the Confederate battle flag to be removed from in front of South Carolina's State House. Thousands of onlookers cramming into one space to get a view of the flag one last time. Then, as the color guard begins to lower it, cheers and applause erupt.
We're bracing for a blast of wintry weather.
WREL has team coverage as the storm approaches.
We're gearing up for some potentially crippling conditions. I'll show you the sleet, snow, and freezing rain lines and who's at greatest risk.
Brian Schrader has minute-by-minute drive times on all the major routes.
Right now on WREL News at 4, as of this minute, we are officially under a winter storm warning this afternoon. Snow and sleet are moving in right now.
We have live team coverage of this winter storm to help keep you and your family safe. Amanda Lamb live in Raleigh, where numerous trees are blocking roads.
Check out what the slush is doing to these power lines. It's weighing them down. Some of them, of course, have snapped. That's why we're having the power outages.
As you can see, this massive tree has fallen onto one of the apartment units.
Rain and heavy winds creating many of those trouble spots here tonight in the Outer Banks. Standing water accumulating on certain low-lying areas, particularly in Kitty Hawk just up the street. The stormy seas pushed oceans of water ashore in Buxton along the Outer Banks. You are in a battle with the ocean.
Well, they're winning.
Here's the problem for Dylan, other business owners, and residents in Buxton. No beach, wiped out by years of erosion. Giant sandbags, not enough to hold back the powerful ocean. This is one of several breaches all along the Buxton coastline.
We're sitting not so many feet above sea level, and without a beach as a protection, you see what's happening. We're getting waxed.
Sheriff's deputies have been using this high water rescue truck to get through some parts of the county. That's because they say the floodwaters are as much as 3 feet deep.
I've lived here since 2008, and this is hands down the worst event ever since I've been here.
Greg Fischel is on a scientific quest to explore climate change. He talks to world experts and goes wherever the data leads him.
I'm here in Barrow, Alaska, along the Continental Divide.
The quest is on. The official quest, exploring climate change, tonight at 6. WRAL News, exceptional reporting.
We have 5 crews in Chapel Hill uncovering the latest information for you.
Here are some of the key elements.
Cullen Browder has been sorting through the findings all afternoon.
Bottom line, this is a much broader investigation.
Focused on people.
Her bank account was cleared out. You're kind of in shock.
And solutions.
If you use a debit card, avoid these 4 ways they call risky.
I didn't even know they had such a thing. Click on it, it's there for my protection.
Every night at 6, only WRAL News.
He was the poster boy for the Highway Patrol, literally.
He was a very optimistic person. He had a very commanding presence.
8 years as a trooper, Humberto Reyna was featured as the Latino face for the patrol. Then, November 23rd, 2009.
The man that left that morning, he didn't come home.
As he responded to a crash at I-40 and 85, Reyna's patrol cruiser was crushed by a hydroplaning car. Reyna was hurt, but his worst injury isn't readily visible.
He has a brain injury. He has cognitive deficits. He has dementia. He has post-traumatic stress disorder.
This is Reyna today.
I was doing my job. Whatever happened to me,
Reyna's family battled the state for years over his care. He collected workers' comp, but his wife, Kay, fought for rehabilitation and personal care services almost from day one.
How can they do that to me? Did they know what they did?
3 promising young lives cut short way too soon, shot in what police are calling a dispute over a parking space. The question remains, however, was this a hate crime? A grieving father says yes.
This is execution style. If this is not hate, I don't know what the police considers hate.
The suspect's wife offering a different story, that the victims were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time.
A passage from the Muslim holy book honored the lives of 23-year-old Dia Barakat, 21-year-old Yusa Salha, and her 19-year-old sister Razan Salha. Their friends and family in their darkest hour, shining a light at this vigil on what these 3 wanted to be and what they could have been.
Dia and Yusa both bought me my first Carolina dentistry school sweater so we can announce it together. And 2 days ago, she sent me a picture of her in our matching sweaters, excited about us starting together.
Barakat, a second-year dentistry student. His wife Yusa was set to join him in the School of Dentistry at UNC Chapel Hill in the fall. Razan, a design student at NC State. 2 campus communities now mourn.
First, I kind of didn't care about it, but then it started hurting me.
A WRAL special report on bullying.
Did he say he was going to hurt you? Was that scary?
Yes, ma'am.
Brave children from the Triangle step forward to tell their stories.
What did you believe?
When they say the word kill, yeah, I do believe it.
The WRAL special report on bullying. Watch it live and start a conversation with your kids. Wednesday at 6.
Like they were just trying to brush it up under the rug and kind of not deal with it.
And so at some point, your mom just said, we just can't go to this school.
It's unsafe.
And did you agree with her?
Yeah.
All right, buddy. All right, come on.
For 8-year-old Joseph and his 6-year-old sister, Cassia, bullying happened on the school bus.
What happened?
He was pulling my book bag.
Did he say he was going to hurt you? Was that scary?
Yes, ma'am.
He was just threatening to kick his butt. And, I mean, Joseph's a little fella.
Stop, police. Put the weapon down. Get down, get down.
Good job.
At the Tactical Defense Academy in Hickory, virtual training begins with safety.
Because you're going to get a nice little kickback.
But neither instructions nor the fact that the gun is not real fully prepared me.
Got him.
Officers are getting the training to make critical decisions.
With 5 screens to simulate real-life scenarios a police officer might be put in.
They're going to be a threat, no threat at all.
Stop. Oh. I'm dead.
We have a saying, you're not going to rise to the occasion, you're going to fall back to the level of your training.
Put the weapon down.
Right now on WRAL News, team coverage of the developing situation in Paris.
I'm Deborah Morgan on assignment in Paris. Today, the city is trying to return to a sense of normalcy. Coming up, we tell you how people here are trying to make sure the terrorists don't win. As roads reopen around the attack sites, mourners are trying to cover up the wounds. Flowers now sit in the holes made by gunfire Friday night. This is Le Caroline, a bar the attackers targeted first. They went to a Cambodian restaurant across the street next. 15 people died here.
People aren't laughing and as carefree as they were before.
Brian Zucker is from Kerry. He's been working in France for the past few months as a compliance attorney for SAS. He wasn't far from Le Caroline when the gunman started firing.
A band was playing Johnny Be Good, and people were dancing around the tables and having a great time. And then I got a text from a friend saying there had been a shooting, and the band stopped and people quit dancing, and then everybody realized it was a series of attacks. There were people in the streets and on the sidewalks talking, and a lady crying on a balcony, and some guys groaning on another balcony by hers, and people yelling down to the street trying to find out what had happened. It just felt like the most warm and loving place you could ever be, and then all of a sudden all that was just lost.
Zucker says it was shocking, and he's left with a feeling of wanting to help. He was part of a moment of silence at SAS France, was part of a discussion on the difficult issue of balancing security and liberty, and heard thanks for support from America.
And they all talked about how they were really glad that people on Facebook in the U.S. had been putting the red, white, and blue stripes on their profile pictures and being very supportive. Yeah, it really did.
So the French people here really want to send the message that they want to keep living life, and that's the message that Brian Zerker wanted to send too.
Right now in WRAL News, our team coverage of the Pope's momentous visit continues.
The Pope has left the island. We're going to take a look at the impact his visit has had on other religions here in Cuba.
And David Crabtree reports live from our nation's capital as the Pontiff visits the U.S. for the first time. WRAL is traveling with the Pontiff. New at 5, live team coverage from Washington, D.C. and Cuba, where His Holiness just wrapped up a 5-day visit. The Pontiff thanked Cubans for the warm welcome and met with faithful followers before leaving the island for a flight to the U.S.
Deborah, it's an amazing scene right now. Thousands of people are still receiving communion following the Pope's homily. We also saw a 78-year-old Pope that looked a little tired. That's understandable. He spent the past 5 days in Cuba before coming to American soil. Also in Cuba has been WRAL's Layla Santiago, who joins us now live from Havana. Layla.
David, you know, the word of the day here has been hope. You ask any Cuban what they took away from that 5-day visit from Pope Francis, and that is what they will tell you.
Tonight at 7, Inside Cuba, a WRAL documentary. Journalist Layla Santiago takes you on a journey with extraordinary access inside Cuba. Come along on a quest to reunite a North Carolina family with childhood friends in Havana, separated for 5 decades.
She remembers.
Inside Cuba, a WRAL documentary. Tonight at 7 on WRAL.
Lazaro Valdez practices Santeria, a religion with deep African roots on the island. He tells me Cubans are always looking for hope, no matter the religion. They respect all religions because they have all lived the same struggle. It wasn't until the early 90s that the government allowed people to openly practice their religion of choice. Valdez tells me he once had to hide this bracelet he wears openly today, a symbol of Santeria. Now, he and many others are keeping a close eye on the Pope and praying for something else. Maybe when the Pope speaks to the U.S. Congress, he tells me, our problems on the island will be solved.
This next story is simply amazing. Lost and wandering in the woods for days, a Harnett County man thought his life may be coming to an end, and the state, in the meantime, issued a silver alert.
Instead, he was rescued and lived to tell his tale of survival.
This is a picture of 88-year-old Lloyd Hall, the day he was found after being lost in the woods for nearly 4 days.
I didn't have no business in the woods to start with, but I didn't, I've been here 30 years.
This is Hall today, at home, recovering from what he calls the second most memorable experience in his life.
I was nearly gave out. My leg was hurting. I could not I still can't stand on my feet.
The former World War II vet says he wandered into the woods not far from his house on Sunday, September 27th. He gave me a day-by-day account of his efforts to get home. It's an incredible journey for a man who wears 2 hearing aids and is legally blind.
The hearing aids were no good. I done put them in my pocket, keep from losing them. I had fell down and sprang my glasses up till I put them in my pocket, because I know if I lost them, I wouldn't ever find them.
Hall says the neighbor's female dog stayed with him for 2 days.
I says, little lady, don't you know the way back home? And she'd look around. Yeah, she knew the way, but she didn't make no noise.
He thought for sure he would be found Tuesday when a Highway Patrol helicopter flew overhead.
He stopped right over me, and I was waving a white handkerchief. That's the only thing I had. And then the dog was walking around. And I was telling this, you're right over me, you're right over me. And he was. It was just above the trees.
But they didn't see him, and he spent another night in the woods.
I was just so tired, I just gave up. But I was not excited. I was at peace. I asked God if it's my time to just let me go to sleep and let me go easy.
Then late Wednesday afternoon, when he thought all was lost, he was found.
I opened my eyes and there they were, and I just cried like a baby.
Justice for Sonny. Their little boy died inside a Fort Bragg daycare. The same daycare has since failed state SIDS training standards, the same way Sonny died.
An infant cannot come home and tell you that they had a bad day or that their arm hurts or anything.
Or being mistreated.
They're 100% susceptible to the people that are in that room with them.
A fight also reinforced every time they hold Nico.
Our biggest fear is that it will happen again.
Your high school or college-aged child critically injured and in a coma. You'd be able to step in and help with medical decisions, right? Maybe not. 5 on Your Side's Monica LaLiberty is here now to explain how parents can be powerless. Monica?
They told us we should prepare for him not to wake up from his coma. I'm like, how do you prepare for that? You know, it was a very, very difficult time.
Now, 5 years after a devastating snowboarding accident, Forrest is talking, walking, and rebuilding.
It was very cool.
It was good. It was good.
Part of the mission now for his mom, Ray, to get parents to think about the unthinkable.
While he was still in a coma, we had to hire an attorney. We had to come back to our county, appear in court, have essentially a little mini trial.
All to get, in essence, legal guardianship to make decisions for Forrest when he couldn't.
We all know legally 18-year-olds are adults. Under HIPAA, that means their medical issues are none of your legal business, even if they're on your insurance. So if your child is in a serious accident and cannot speak for themselves, the care provider, in Forrest's case, the doctors, can make the decisions. It is called implied consent.
He was not going to go across the stage without walking at graduation, and my thought was, okay, God, we need a big one on this.
Victor Emmanuel Murray.
Prayers answered.
Oh, that was just awesome. And to have thousands of people in here just cheering for him, screaming his name. And when it got just a little bit quieter, they'd amp it up even more. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
WRAL investigates thousands of Wake County families with this coming out of the tap.
Wednesday, 5 on Your Side investigates power bills from Duke Energy Progress. Watch this WRAL Health Team report.
They say, wow, I look better.
Win their 5th national championship. The final score, Duke 68, the Wisconsin Badgers 63. Thanks so much for joining us for your Hoops headquarters coverage of tonight's NCAA championship. We know you can't go to bed yet. I'm Deborah Morgan.
And I'm Gerald Owens. We have you covered from Indianapolis to Durham.
When they go into the season next year, that first game at home, they'll be looking up in the rafters, raising another banner. So it'll be a big night for Duke and the program.
The doors opened at Cameron Indoor Stadium. The students poured in by the hundreds. Once inside, the Cameron Crazies took over, and this was even before the game started.
Can I really watch it anywhere else? Do you see the camera on me? Do you see the crowd? Let's go!
Our tradition here is that the only time you can storm a court is when we win a championship, and I think we did that yesterday.
For 35 years,
Friday night,
WRAL has brought you all the excitement of Friday night. All the highlights and scores of your favorite teams. Football Friday starts right now.
Introducing the new WRAL Sports Sunday. Local analysis of your teams, from college to the pros, with a special guest every week. We're dropping some knowledge, so lace them up. Let's go. This Sunday morning at 11:30, only WRAL.
He cared more about people than wins and losses or records or anything.
How honored and thankful and appreciative could I be that I had a chance to play 4 years for him.
And he's a completely compassionate guy and a very humble guy, and that story will remain with me for as long as I live.
The grass, the crowd, the smell, the sound of the bat. It's my favorite place.
He'll slide in and beat the tag.
It's the Durham Bulls. It's the best minor league baseball team ever.
On our coast, there's a fight to save fish.
Because there's a whole lot less fish than what there used to be.
Save jobs.
Every year you have a few more regulations put on, making it harder to make a living.
Save the environment.
I just don't think people across the state understand what's going on our coast.
This is an Osprey Eyes view of a shrimp trawler on the Neuse River. WRAL's drone took the shot. See that much smaller white power boat behind the trawler? That boat belongs to WRAL engineer Tony Gupton. He used it as a takeoff and landing platform for the drone, while documentary producer Clay Johnson drove the boat and documentary photographer Jay Jennings shot with his own camera.
Explore the natural wonders of North Carolina. Beautiful places off the beaten path.
That's pretty cool.
Need an adventure for the family? Watch Nooks and Crannies, Friday at 5:55 on WRAL News.
Surf City, Soundside Park.
I'm at the park, and it's really nice.
Ashley Johnson is from Clayton.
Woo!
After a few days on the beach, she and her family are ready for this change of scenery.
It just feels good. I don't know. It's something my family's been doing for a long time. We just come here later in the afternoon.
It's a time of transition and of tranquility.
I like the area, I like to relax, and I like to fish.
Fishing is what brings Mike Whiston here.
I mean, I just like sitting out here, seeing the sun. I mean, we go to the beach too, don't get me wrong, but not all the time. I'd rather be over here fishing and stuff.
He could be fishing on the beach, but this offers something more.
Just, I don't know, it's quieter. Got a good view of the sunset.
There's definitely a magical about it. That's why I keep doing it.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to WRAL's 27th annual Coats for the Children telethon. I'm here with Greg and Gerald. We've had a wonderful day so far in our WRAL studios. Get this, guys. We have raised so far $72,000 for the Salvation Army. Oh, that is going to keep a lot of children warm in our community this winter.
Oh, this is pretty good.
I was looking at this thinking, well, I don't know, this is a kiddie ride, but hey, not bad at all, guys.
But I see you're taking a vested interest in your wardrobe.
You came to Raleigh, what did you do?
Carpenter work.
Carpentry work. He built houses, and he opened a little food booth at the fair.
1957.
He sold French fries at first. That was it.
I love my customers are here.
Customers have been dropping by here for 58 years.
58 years.
58 years. Many customers not only know Steve.
Everybody knows Steve Paneras.
They also know his family, the Roast Grill people. The Roast Grill in Raleigh. Black burn, medium burn, light burn, no burn. That's George, Steve's son, and George can sure cook. That's Risa, Steve's daughter, and Risa can sure sing.
They love me, and I love them. I love my wife. I've been in Raleigh 63 years. I've been married 63 years.
How old are you?
86.
86. And still working hard, selling hot dogs. Hot dogs, that great American comfort food.
I'm on TV now.
He's on TV. Steve Paneras has come a long way. What have you learned in your life?
I learned speak English.
Oh, but his story is much bigger than that.
God bless America. God bless America.
Thursday at 7, a special Fayetteville edition of the Tar Heel Traveler. From the Babe.
Got his nickname the Babe while he was here.
To the King.
How would you like to play for Elvis?
But.
What this whole world needs is more putt-putt.
To the Eiffel Tower.
I think it's an eye catcher.
The people and places around Fayetteville will inspire you.
Is it scary?
It's a little scary.
Watch Scott Mason on a special Fayetteville edition of the Tar Heel Traveler. Thursday at 7 on WRAL.